Hello, Tubby and Coos fans. It is me, Candice, live for the first time in 2021. Happy New Year to all of you. I know that 2020 was rough on a lot of us, most of us maybe. So I'm really happy that we're here in a new year. I'm sure all of you are too. This is the first of our updates for 2021. The plan is to do 2 live videos a month at this point. We'll do one at the beginning of the month and one at the end of the month. And, it'll range everything from updates on the store to book racks to just whatever. So I'm excited to do these for you this year, similar to what I did last year. So speaking of last year, I do want to give you an update if you haven't seen on our 2020 stats and our bestsellers and things like that. We have posted those on, there's a list on bookshop.org. We posted them on Facebook. We posted them on Twitter. There's a blog post on it. So in our newsletter too. So these have been all over the place, but I wanted to give you an update on our 2020 stats, on our bestsellers of 2020, on what our plans are for this year, and all of that good stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with y'all so that we can talk about 2020. So give me just 1 second. Okay, I think that y'all should be able to see this. This is our 2020 overall bestsellers. So I'm going to make this to where y'all can see the whole thing. Here we go. So these are our best-selling books for 2020. What was interesting about this is that most of our bestsellers are 15. So these will be our 15 overall bestsellers, which means that this includes online and in-store sales. So we had a separate list that we posted on Twitter that was our in-store sales versus our online sales. These are just overall sales. So the books we sold the most copies of in 2020. What was really interesting about these is that of these top 15 books, the vast majority of them were backlist books, which means they were not books that came out in 2020. Only 4 of these books actually came out in 2020. So that was really interesting to me, that these really aren't super new books, but they are books that we love in the store, which makes a lot of sense. It's books that we recommend on a regular basis for the most part. So here we go for our 15 best-selling books of the year before I start with stats. So here they are. The City We Became was by far our best-selling book of 2020. We sold like more than 50 copies of this book. It was super popular and still is a super popular book. So by far, that is our best seller in every way that a bestseller can be. We also sold a lot of Black Leopard Red Wolf online. So The City We Became was our best-selling book in store. Black Leopard Red Wolf was our best-selling book online, which was really interesting. We also sold like a ton of copies of that book. So those were by far 2 best-selling books of the year. Blackfish City was our 3rd bestseller, mostly online as well. Sold tons of copies of this book. This was actually my personal favorite book the year it came out, which I want to say was 2018. And so I have a feeling because it's on a lot of our bookshop lists that's why this was such a good seller online. Once and Future, of course, is a book that I talk about all the time. King Arthur, super queer, love this book. So, of course, it's no surprise that this is on this list. The Black Tides of Heaven was a book club book and also sold a ton of copies online. So of these first 5 bestsellers, The City We Became is the only one that was like a best-selling book in store. The rest of these, we just sold tons of copies online of them. We also sold a ton of The 5th Season, which is a perpetual bestseller in the store. It's such a good book. We always recommend it. The City in the Middle of the Night, same sort of situation. We're always recommended that. Gideon the Ninth, which is really interesting, and I think this was a bestseller. This was an in-store and online bestseller, actually, and I think it was that way because the sequel, Harrow the Ninth, came out, and Gideon we read as a book club book, and I think just a lot of people heard about it when Harrow came out, the sequel came out, and like wanted to buy this book. So you know, that was a bestseller sort of in both places. The Future of Another Timeline is a really good sci-fi book by Annalee Newitz. We recommend that one all the time. So you can kind of just look. What's interesting is, of course, most of these are science fiction and fantasy books. That is what we do. But also, there's How to Be an Anti-Racist, was one of our best-selling books in store in 2020. And that had to do with the moment of George Floyd, and anti-racism really came to the forefront in 2020. And I'm really hoping that all of you who bought that book actually read it, because it's a really good book, and it is something that I think everyone should read and should know. And the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, Grady Hendrix as an author is a perpetual bestseller in the store. We love Grady Hendrix' work, and this book is actually coming up our February book club selection. So we'll be reading that one coming up. The Casket Girls by Elise Arden, of course, is another perpetual bestseller. It's on our best-selling books list every single year. This series is a really good local series, local author, always on our bestseller lists. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was the Hunger Games prequel that came out. Of course, that sold a bunch. And of course, Obama's book is selling really well everywhere. So those are our overall top bestsellers of 2020. You can, of course, this list is on our bookshop site, so you can take a look there. I think most of them are also, you can order them through us directly. If you want to order any of these books, you can do it at chubbyandcoos.com and place an order. But those are our best-selling books of 2020. It has been really, really interesting. So what I want to talk about now are our 2020 stats, which I think are really cool if you're a stats nerd. And if you're not, then you can just totally skip this part. But this is what I think is really cool, and it'll give you an update on what's going on at the bookshop or what went on in 2020. As you all know, we had an interesting year. We had a move, we had a flood, COVID. We had a lot of things to sort of overcome this year, and we were able to do that with your help. It's all because of you. We are still here. We're still open. And so I really, really appreciate that. Thank all of you for keeping us open during 2020. But here are some interesting stats for y'all. 52 of you tossed coins into our virtual tip jar. So thank you very much for that. Those donations really helped a lot and went a long way. We went live 75-ish times for things like book racks and game walkthroughs and live updates and all of that good stuff. We started going live a whole lot more in 2020, of course. So you can look at all of our live videos, or most of them, on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook videos page if you want to go back and look at any of that stuff as far as when we went live. We also held about 41 virtual events, so author events, hosting, the likes of John Scalzi and Martha Wells and Kazan Callender and Farrah Roshan and Chris Cluey and a lot of really, really cool authors. Those can mostly all be found on our YouTube channel as well if you want to go back and watch any of our author events. It was really cool to be able to do virtual events. It was really great for the store because it allowed us to establish better relationships with publicists and publishers. And it allowed us to host authors that we would have never been able to host in person. So that was really cool and exciting for us in 2020. We also produced 2 virtual conferences last year. The first was with the Saints and Sinners LGBTQ Literary Festival. We did a reading series for them because, of course, the festival had to be canceled. So we did a reading series in March of 2020 during the weekend when the festival would have been. That's all on our YouTube channel as well if you want to go check that out. we are going to work with them again this year. Even though they're virtual, they are doing a real virtual conference this year. So we're able to work with them to be their virtual bookseller for that conference in March. So keep a lookout for that. If you're a Saints and Sinners fan, I'm really excited to be involved in that again. We also worked with One Book, One New Orleans to produce the Words and Music Festival, which was in November. And that was a really, really cool festival, amazing events. And you can find all of those events on the One Book, One New Orleans YouTube channel. We also, this holiday season, if you didn't see this, we sponsored an Adopt a Family program in partnership with Imagine Waterworks. It was a really great program. We were really excited to do it. We donated about $500 worth of books to the community, to folks who weren't able to afford books to give to their families for Christmas. And we helped with this program more than 60 families and a little more than 200 people in our local community. And this program provided gifts, of course, for people who couldn't afford them, but also food boxes and diapers and formula and wipes and things like that as well. So we were able to help a lot of people with that program. And thank you to our local mutual aid group, to Imagine Waterworks, and to all the people that were involved in that, because that was a really, really great program that we were happy to help with. And those are all of our biggest stats for 2020. Another interesting fact is for our virtual events, the #1 publisher for most of our events was Tor and Tor.com. Makes sense. We're a sci-fi fantasy store. So, of course, Tor and Tor.com are really huge in the store. So they were our #1. This year, our goal is to have more virtual events with local authors to try and introduce you to authors you may not already know, as well as continue to work with a wider variety of publishers to try and get more virtual events for this year. So keep a lookout for that. We're going to hopefully do a lot more virtual events. We really love doing those. And so we're going to keep going with that. And the last thing that I wanted to mention today, our 2021 plans, of course. So the first thing that we're going to do in 2021 is try and get our in-store inventory online. We were working on that really hard in 2020. But then all this stuff happened. COVID broke out, and then we had to move, and then we had the flood, and then so it just didn't happen in 2020. So that is the big goal for the first quarter of this year, is to get our in-store inventory online. That involves a lot of behind the scenes stuff. We have to do a total in-store inventory first. We have to do a lot of back-end work on the website and on getting all of the descriptions and photos and everything in there. So it's a big project. So it is our first thing for 2021 is to try and get our in-store inventory online so that you can browse and see what we actually have in the store. So that is #1. We're also working on virtual book fairs and fundraisers. So if you're a teacher, if you work for a school, if you're a librarian, if you are with a nonprofit, anything that requires fundraising, we are going to try to help you out with virtual book fairs. And so that is going to be a really cool project that we will open up to anyone looking to fundraise as an organization, and we're working on that for this year as well. We are also working on doing a diversity, equity, and inclusion audit for the store, both for our in-store inventory and for our business as a whole. So that is part of our ongoing anti-racism work. We want to make sure that of course, our inventory reflects our community and reflects diverse voices, and that we have lots of different voices and people represented in the store. And we also want to make sure that we are doing our best to support the local community and to divest from businesses that, support white supremacy, and invest in businesses that are owned by people of color and that are owned by queer people. And we want to support those businesses that are owned by marginalized people as well, and of course that are local. So we're going to do a whole business audit on that this year. I plan to post those results on our website when it is complete. That is also a sort of big project because we have to review everything in the business, but that is something that we're going to look at this year as well. So we have some really cool, interesting stuff. We also want, of course, to do more virtual events as well. Let me see if I forgot anything. I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it. So that is what we're looking at for 2021. And finally, I want to go over and show y'all some of the books that are coming out in January. That's another thing, is that we're going to do at the beginning of every month a new release thing for all the new releases that are coming out that month. So I'm going to show you on my screen again what is coming out this month and see if you might be interested in any of it. You can order these on our bookshop site, but you can also order them directly from us, which is actually better for us, at tubbyandcoos.com. And you just click place an order. It is a Google form. Some people seem to have trouble with it, but really you just fill it out and put your name and your info and what you're looking for. There's an other field. So if you don't see the book in the form that you're looking for, you can just click other and type it in, or type in a big list or whatever. That's the best way to order from us. So tubbyandcoos.com and place an order. Of course, you can order from our bookshop site as well. We do get sales from that. We do get the credit for those sales. It's just not as good as ordering from us directly. So, but either of those ways of ordering is totally fine. So I'm going to show y'all now some of the new releases coming out in January that I think look really cool. Caveat, I have not read any of these books yet, but I think that a lot of them sound super cool, and I'm really excited to read some of them. So I'm going to show you these. So The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry. I really like this title. I really like this cover. I'm going to click on it so that y'all can see it. The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry looks really cool. This one comes out January 12th, and it's a fantasy novel, and it is about, it has conspiracy, it has magic, it has all of the good stuff, fantasy, adventure. It's a fantasy book. And the sentence that got me is down here where it says, the job looks like nothing but romance and easy money until things take a deadly and undead turn. With the help of a bird-loving necromancer, a shape-shifting schoolgirl, and an ill-tempered reanimated mouse named Buttons, Deli and Wynn are determined to get the best of an adversary who wields a twisted magic and has friends in the highest of places. This sounds really cool. I'm very excited to read it. The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry, and it looks super cool. Nnedi Okorafor has a new book coming out called Remote Control. This is a novella, and I'm really excited to read this one as well. It's about an alien artifact that turns a young girl into Death's adopted daughter, and that's really all I need to know. And Nnedi Okorafor wrote it. So this is science fiction, and I'm really excited to read this book. You can go through, as you can see, this is a bookshop list on our bookshop site. It's called January New Releases. So I'm not going to go over every single one because there's a bunch. But if you're interested in browsing this or in looking at more information on any of these books, you can go here to our bookshop list and look at that. Another one I'm super excited about, maybe the most excited about, is called Persephone Station. And this sounds so good. Look at this cover. It's like really, really cool. But this book is a space opera, and it says it's for fans of The Mandalorian and Cowboy Bebop. So I'm all about it. It's an adventure. It is super queer, and it's about this planet that's sort of been ignored by the big organization, the United Republic of Worlds. And a bar owner and an ex-Marine, and as you can see, head of a semi-organized band of beneficent criminals, wayward assassins, and washed-up mercenaries with a penchant for doing the honorable thing, is asked to perform a job for this bar owner. And it sounds so cool and super queer, and I love The Mandalorian, and Cowboy Bebop is great, and it's like a feminist space opera, so I am all about it. Persephone Station, can't wait to read that. We Free the Stars is a sequel to We Hunt the Flame. So if you like that, you're excited about the sequel. Octavia Butler, this is a collection. So it's a sort of huge book that collects a bunch of stuff. It has Kindred in there, it has Fledgling in there, and it has a bunch of her short stories in there. So this is just a new hardcover fancy Octavia Butler collection. Some of the others, we have a few really interesting sounding romances that are coming out in January. Angie Thomas has this new book, Concrete Rose, which is told from the point of view. So if you read The Hate You Give, or if you saw the movie, this book is about Star's dad. So this is Star's dad as a teenager. And if you know anything about Star's dad, Maverick was his name, Maverick Carter, you know anything about him, you know that he sort of had a rough teenagehood. He went to jail, all that good stuff. And so this is about his life as a teenager. And having the baby 7 and, you know, all the stuff that he went through. So if you like The Hate You Give, you wanted more info on Maverick, who was Star's dad, this is the book for you. We have a cool, The Rib King. There's no image here, but Lady Hubbard is a local author, and The Rib King is a literary novel, but it sounds really cool. And we loved The Talented Ribkins, which was Lady Hubbard's first book. So we're excited about this one. I just downloaded this one, Cosmic Health. It sounds really cool. It is a witchy book about, you know, just how to sort of use the cosmos to try and also manage your health and positive psychology. So that sounds really cool. So there's a bunch of stuff. The ones down here are coming out in paperback. So these have been out in hardcover, but they are now coming out in paperback. So if you're interested in any of that, those are the January new releases. So that is everything that I have for today. That's all of our 2020 stats and review, our 2021 plans, our January new releases. Keep up with us on social media. We are constantly posting things, as you probably already know. And if you want to order any of these books that I talked about here or anywhere else, you can do it at tubbyandcoos.com and place an order. That is the best way to do it. You can, of course, browse these lists that I showed you on Bookshop and order from there as well. And that is everything that I have for right now. Happy New Year. Thank you to all of our amazing customers. And we hope that you have an excellent, excellent year this year. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.